The adventurer who turned into a monster is still fighting with the maid. At that moment, the adventurer's husband brought me in front of the monster. As the monster approached its husband, he suddenly stabbed the monster's chest with the sword in his hand. When the monster was unable to fight, I quickly took out its token from its body. Suddenly, the monster started to go crazy and rushed towards me. Just as I was in danger, the adventurer's husband stood in front of me. Moen and Rod were secretly observing Aluca and Anne in a patch of grass in the forest. Aluca and Anne are still fighting. Aluca expressed great anger towards everyone who did not accept its love. It doesn't understand why they are unwilling to accept its unparalleled love. She suddenly roared into the air and separated a portion of her blood from its body. It made these blood into many huge blood arrows and fired them towards the direction where Anne was. It shouted very discontentedly, "I just want you to accept my love. Why do you all reject me?" And looked at Aluca with a determined gaze, and did not answer her question. When Aluca's blood arrow flew towards her, she immediately wrapped herself with her wings, forming a protective shield. Blood arrows densely landed on her iron wings and made a very loud sound. Due to the good defensive ability of the iron wings, she did not suffer any damage. Aluca extended her hand towards Anne and revealed an evil smile. She said to Anne, "Mr. Moen and Rod are both gone. The final sacrifice is you, my beloved master." Due to Aluca witnessing Moen being attacked by its blood cannon, it believed that there was one less sacrifice to offer to the god of love. In order to complete the ritual of the evil god, it could only capture Anne, who was still fighting with it, and offer him as a sacrifice. Aluca. At this moment, Aluca heard a familiar voice. She slightly widened her eyes, feeling a little surprised. It lowered her head and looked carefully at the person standing at her feet. It suddenly realized that this person was Rod, whom it had been looking for a long time. Rod held onto Moen's collar with one hand, and a sword tightly with the other. He lifted his head and said to Aluca, "Sacrifice." He gently shook Moen, as if expressing to Aluca that he had caught the sacrifice it wanted. His eyes were hollow and devoid of any brightness. From his expression, it seems that he has been controlled again by a kind of magic that manipulates his mind. Due to being hit in the stomach by Aluca just now, Moen is now severely injured and very weak. He can't break free from Rod's hand now either. Seeing Rod appear in front of it, Aluca felt very pleased. It gently covered its mouth with its hand and happily called out its name. "Rod, young master," and turned his head, and also noticed the figures of Rod and Moen. Seeing Moen being caught by Rod, she widened her eyes in shock. Although she saw that Moen was not severely injured, she did not expect him to be offered as a sacrifice by Rod to Aluca, and shouted to Rod with a sobbing tone, "Release my young master." She used her iron wings to forcefully swat away the blood arrows flying toward her, while conjuring an iron scythe with her magical energy. She quickly flew towards the direction where Moen was. She thought that Aluca had ordered Rod to capture Moen, so she felt very angry. She also felt sad that she couldn't save Moen in time. Aluca noticed that Anne had changed the direction of his flight. It knows what she wants to do next. It formed a huge fist with its blood and commanded it to fly towards Anne's direction. It wants to stop her from flying to the location where Rod is. And turned his head and noticed the fist rapidly moving towards her. And looked nervously at the fist and realized that she had no time to dodge it. In the current situation, she has only one last resort left. She quickly summoned magical energy into her hands. She extended her hands and summoned all the magical energy she could control from her body. She waved her hand vigorously, shaping these magical energies into a huge iron shield in front of her, blocking Aluca's bloody fist. Aluca's bloody fist hit Anne's iron shield and made a loud noise. However, due to insufficient magical energy, and was still unable to persist for too long, Aluca's fist quickly broke her iron shield and pressed her into the forest. In an instant, a very large amount of dust was raised in the forest. Aluca lifted her hand and directed the bloody fist to press unfirmly on the ground. After a while, noticing that Anne had no more resistance, Aluca said to her, "This is the moment when I reunite with Rod. You are no longer needed here, Master." It doesn't want her to disturb its important moment with Rod. Aluca separated from the monster's body and landed on the ground in human form. It slowly walked towards Rod and praised him very happily. "I knew you loved me, Rod. Not only did you return to me, but you also managed to bring Mr. Moen back. You're so good. In this way, the number of sacrificial people will be sufficient." At this moment, Rod remained standing still and waited for Aluca to come over. It seems that due to physical weakness, Moen knelt on the ground. Aluca slowly walked into Rod. It extended its hand and gently stroked his cheek, as if treating a pet. It gave him a gentle smile and said to him, "As long as the God of love comes, everything will return to the past, and we will be together forever. Do you think so, Rod?" Rod lowered his head and stood quietly. He did not answer Aluca's question. "Oh, I forget that you are still under the spell of mental manipulation. Don't worry, when everything is over, I will help you." "You're right, Aluca. We'll be together forever." At this moment, Rod suddenly interrupted Aluca's words. Aluca widened its eyes and was surprised by Rod's words. "You!" It noticed that Rod's expression had changed slightly from before. Rod looked at Aluca with a sad expression and couldn't help but shed tears. He regrets that Aluca has become what she is now. He said to it, "It's my fault. If I had noticed earlier, you wouldn't have become the irreparable person you are today. But don't worry. I will repay this sin with you." Rod quickly grasped Aluca's hand and plunged his sword into its chest. Soon, a large amount of blood gushed out of Aluca's chest. Aluca didn't expect Rod to do such a thing to it. Why did Rod have the opportunity to approach Aluca? This starts from when he and Moen were secretly observing Aluca in the grass just now. While Moen was intently observing the fight between Aluca and Anne, Rod suddenly thought of a way to get closer to Aluca. He told Moen, who was standing next to him, about this method. Moen pondered for a moment, then said to Rod, "Rod, Your plan is too risky. Just now, when we launched 2 surprise attacks, Aluca must have developed a sense of vigilance. With her fighting power, it's difficult for us to get close to her again. Rod turned his head to look at Moen. Based on his observation, he analyzed the current situation of Aluca. Believe me, if my judgment is correct, the visible range of Aluca integrated into the blood body should be much smaller than its true form when exposed. Otherwise, she wouldn't need to expose half of her body for battle. The reason why she took the risk of being injured in real form is largely because only in this way can she accurately target Miss Anne.